guys, it's Zoe. Today I'm going to be talking about 10 of my personal favorite retellings that aren't fairy tales. Before we get into that though, the language from the last video was French, and I think every single one of you got that right. Thank you as well to Gail, a commenter, and my sister-in-law, who let me know that I said instead of c'est. So I should have said bonjour, aujourd'hui c'est dimanche, because it was Sunday when I filmed that. Today's language is hola, hoy es jueves. I'm not 100% sure about my pronunciation for the last word, so if you could please let me know again how I'm doing, that would be wonderful. As well, thank you so much to everybody who wished Kurt a happy birthday. It means a lot to both of us. You guys are fantastic. So let's just get right into the books. The first book I have is a retelling of Charlotte Holmes. Wow. The first book I have is a Sherlock Holmes retelling, and that is A Study in Charlotte by Brittany Cavallaro. This is a little bit of a different retelling. It follows Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson's great-great-great-grandchildren. It's set in present day, and the two descendants of Sherlock and Watson are basically thrust into their great-great-great-grandparents' stories. There is a murder happening, and the entire thing is taken straight from the famous stories. And Charlotte and Jamie are being framed for murder. It's really gotta suck. You're being framed for murder, and it's your great-great-great-grandparents' story that people are using. Like, you're turning the family against each other. That's just rude. I love this book. I thought it was super well done. This is a trilogy. The second book, The Last of August, is out now, and the third one is coming out on March 6th. I am super excited for that one. I loved both books. They were really quick reads, and I just love this story and the concept in general. The next book I have, I wasn't 100% sure on. I heard some mixed sort of things, and I don't really know the original story that well. And this book is Roseblood by A.G. Howard. This, as you can probably tell from the mask on the front, is a Phantom of the Opera retelling. This book is set in France, also in present day, and it's at a school for opera singers. The school that they're in is rumored to have ties to the original Phantom of the Opera performance and production, and some weird starts happening. I can't say that. Some weird stuff starts happening. I remember being a little bit confused while I was reading this, and I wasn't really sure where it was going, but I ended up really liking this one. The one thing that threw me off though, the font is actually, can you see that? The font is red. Actual red font. That really throws me off a whole lot. I found it a little bit harder to read the actual physical copy because of that, so I'm curious to see if I would have liked an audiobook more. I have bad eyes. Red font is not helpful to me, and especially because I'm not supposed to read with my glasses on, and I do anyways, but either way, it's hard for me to see. Rune, the main character, is an opera singer. Obviously, she's at a school for opera. The thing is though, whenever she sings opera, it leaves her feeling drained, and not in the sense that you're literally just belting things out at the top of your vocal range and you're gonna be tired after. It actually leaves her sick. Like, she physically cannot do it. I can't imagine that. Actually, I can. A lot of books make me feel like that at the end. But if you're doing anything you love and it makes you physically ill, that's gotta suck. I feel for this girl. I really enjoyed it. I absolutely love this cover. I think this is one of my favorite covers. I really enjoy it. This next one I haven't finished. I don't know why. I got about 140 pages in, and I think I picked up another book and I just forgot about this one, which really sucks, and I need to get back into it. This one is a Romeo and Juliet retelling, and it's A Prince of Shadows by Rachel Kane. It's set in Verona with the actual characters from the original play, but it doesn't follow Romeo and Juliet. It follows Benvolio and Rosaline. During the day, Benvolio is a good Montague, but at night, he is the Prince of Shadows, and he is the biggest thief in all of Verona, and he likes to steal from the Capulets. But then he sets his sights on Rosaline, who's bound for a convent, and obviously bad things happen. The worst of which is that it begins this curse of some sort that will kill a lot of people in Verona. Like I said, I only got about 140 something pages into this, but I really enjoyed it. It's high on my list to actually finish. I'm hoping I like the last half as much as I did the first half, but because I liked what I read so much, it's on this list of favorite retellings. This next one ended in a way that totally blew my mind. The next book is supposed to come out sometime in May. This one is a Swan Lake retelling, and that is Dark Breaks the Dawn by Sarah B. Larson. This story is set in a world where the peace between the Light Kingdom and the Dark Kingdom is finally coming to an end, and war is about to break out. Our main character is a princess named Evelyn. I don't think it's Evelyn, I think it's Evelyn. She's a princess from the Light Country, and she needs to quickly come into her ability to shapeshift to really save her country. Like I said, I I did not expect the ending at all. I was in shock when I was reading it. I remember liking it and it was kind of okay and it was nothing too special, but the ending totally changed that for me and I absolutely loved it. I cannot wait for the second one. This next one, like the Romeo and Juliet retelling, really speaks to my English major heart. This is a retelling of Paradise Lost by Jon Wilson, and that is Traitor Angels by Anne Blankman. This book is set in the mid-1600s when Paradise Lost was written, and it follows Jon Wilson's daughter Elizabeth. In real life, Jon Wilson was blind and he dictated his later poems to assistants of some sort, and that's how his masterpieces were written. In this version, he dictated them to a daughter named Elizabeth, not a daughter in real life. He had 4 kids, but none named Elizabeth. In this book, during the day, Elizabeth helps him transcribe Paradise Lost, and by night, she is learning many languages and learning how to defend herself. She doesn't know why, but she just goes along with it because that's what she's told to do. They've got a great little routine going on, but then one day, some of the king's men come to arrest her father, and things definitely take a turn for the worse after that. She's on a mission to save her father, and she's accompanied by a man that has been staying with them. He's a scientist that was friends with her dad. She's not really upset about this guy tagging along because he's super hot and he's got an Italian accent, and is anybody mad about that? I know I'm not. I think she's not either. What they find out that on this journey to save her father, they find out that he put some stuff into Paradise Lost that could change the world as they know it. It's some big secret of some sort that the king doesn't want getting out, but Milton is like, hey, everybody needs to know. I think this is kind of a form of the early WikiLeaks. I personally loved Paradise Lost. I thought it was fantastic. I know a lot of people think it's really boring and it's really hard to get through, but I loved it. And this book is broken up into 4 parts, and at the beginning of each part, it has a quote from Paradise Lost, which just makes me happy because I love it so much. The next book I have is another retelling of history, and this is one of the funniest books I've read in a long time. I read it sometime last year, I think. Don't really remember when. This is a retelling of Jane Grey's history, The Queen for 9 Days. And this book is My Lady Jane by the Lady Janies. Cynthia Hand, Brodie Ashton, and Jody Meadows. I'm pretty sure when I was reading this, I was laughing out loud at least every other page, if not on every page. It was so well written. You can't tell that there are 3 people writing this book, which I think is fantastic. One of my personal pet peeves is when I'm reading a co-authored book and you can tell that there are different authors. This one is perfectly seamless. It was so well done. Well, it's not a totally true retelling because people turn into animals, and I'm pretty sure that didn't actually happen at this point in history. Could have happened before that, who knows? But I don't think it really happened at this time. The story follows Jane, her intended Gifford, more easily known as G, and Edward, the dying king. He'd rather be figuring out who he wants his first kiss to be rather than who is going to take over the throne when he dies. He arranges for Jane, his cousin, to marry G to secure the line of succession. She's not too pleased about that. She'd rather read than rule a country. I mean, can you blame her? I'd rather do the same thing too. It's just a lot of work. And G's just trying to fly under the radar here because he turns into a horse every night. Waking up with hay in your mouth is a little bit undignified, but you know what? That'd be pretty cool to be a horse. Personally, I'd rather be a giraffe, but beggars can't be choosers, you know? One of my favorite things about this book is the fact that there are random Shakespeare quotes that G is coming up with, because there's been a lot of questions about whether Shakespeare's work was totally original or not, and this is just exploring the what if he really took some of his stuff from somebody else. G's just pulling this stuff out of his ass, and it's hilarious when he does, because he doesn't really know what he's saying, but it comes out pretty cool. I wish my writing was like that, but it's not. The next book I have isn't quite so much a retelling as an origin story, and this one is all about Blackbeard. It's Black Hearts by Nicole Casterman. This follows 2 main characters, a guy named Teach and a girl named Anne. As expected, Teach ends up becoming Blackbeard, and Anne, we don't really know what happens to her. Teach's dad wants him to do exactly as he says and not have a life of his own. Teach isn't feeling that. Anne is a maid in Teach's house. She wasn't really really born into that life. Her dad was a merchant, her mom was from Curacao. She's looked down upon because she is a mixed race. After her parents die, she is forced to find a way to stay alive, and it's set in the late 1600s, so there aren't really many opportunities for somebody of mixed race. Anne and Teach fall in love, Teach's dad's not feeling it, they plan to escape, it gets foiled, and Blackbeard is born. I'm a big fan of pirates. I like this book a lot, though there's not much piracy happening. I don't know what I just said, but we're gonna go with it. The next book I have is a Robin Hood retelling, and this is Scarlet by A.C. Goggin, possibly Gone. I think it's Goggin though. This story follows Will Scarlet, oh that's really glary, who is a member of Robin Hood's band of merry men. Except Will Scarlet's not really a man. His name is actually Scarlet, and they just toss the Will in there to make it seem like she's a boy. The author brings up a good point in her notes that there's a chance that Will Scarlet, who is an actual person in this band of merry men, could have been a girl, and then history over time was like, you know what, works better if he's a boy because girls suck. But I like this version. I like the way this worked out. I remember it being kind of slow to start, but I really enjoyed it by the end, and I think there are 2 other books, possibly more, but I know there's at least 2 others in this series. Robin Hood and his merry men are doing their Robin Hood and merry men type things where they are stealing from the rich and giving to the poor, but a thief-taker named Lord Ginsburn, he comes into town and he is looking for Scarlet. They have a bit of a history and he wants her back in the worst possible way. She's not having it, Robin Hood's not having it, John Little's not having it, so a big fight ensues. Just goes to show there is actually honor among thieves. These ones, because Robin Hood was royalty and he's not really born into that thieving lifestyle. That could be argued, but we're going with that. This next retelling is also a retelling of a famous legend, and that one is Arthur. This book is Avalon High by Meg Cabot. I remember reading this when I was in grade school, and then I saw the movie, and the movie changed who the villain was, and it was devastating. It was horrible. Wasn't a fan of the movie, but I liked the book a lot. This book follows a girl named Ellie. Her parents are history professors, and they are on sabbatical. They are trying to write a book or something, I think, about Arthur. That is what they focus on. That's what they're trying to do, and their work takes them to a small town just outside of Washington, D.C. Ellie ends up going to school there, and there's something really odd about these people. They kind of fit into the legend of Arthur. She's not really believing it at first. She thinks it's a crock of crap. Alliteration. I like that. A crock of crap. She's not buying into it. Her parents are all into this legend. They think Arthur's going to come again, and they're trying to find out who he is. She doesn't believe it, but then things start happening, and she's starting to believe, and then things really do happen. Once again, this book speaks to my English major heart. She is named after the Lady of Shalott, and her brother is named after Chaucer. I like it. I like it a lot. The last book I have is a retelling of more recent history. This is basically answering the question of what if World War II ended differently? What if the Americans didn't join in at the last second? And what if Hitler won? This book is Wolf by Ryan Groden. This is set in 1956, an alternate reality, 1956, where the Axis powers won and Germany and Japan rule the entire world, basically. To celebrate their victory, every year they have a motorcycle race that spans from Germany over to Japan. That's a really far ride on a motorcycle, and they're really not fussy if you kill someone, one of the other racers, while you're doing it. Our main character, I think her name is pronounced Yael. Y-A-E-L is how it's spelled. Somebody please let me know how you properly pronounce that. I've heard different things. I googled it. Most of them said Yael, and some of them said Gale, but I'm not 100% sure. She was a storage was full. Sorry if there is an angle change, had to fix that. Anyways, our main character was a prisoner in a death camp. All of her family died. While she was in this death camp, she was a victim of some really, really sketchy medical trials. Basically, it ended with her being able to what they call skin shift. She can change at will whatever she looks like. Think kind of like Mystique in X-Men. After she escapes from this death camp, she ends up part of the Resistance, a group that is trying to basically kill Hitler and end the Nazi regime. Because of her special abilities, she is given the task to infiltrate this race by skin shifting and turning into the only female in this year's motorcycle race. She was also a contestant the last year, so the country and basically the entire world knows who this woman is, and it's her one chance to get close to Hitler. If she wins this race, she gets to have a private meeting with him, which is the one shot to rid the earth of his demonic evil presence. Things end up getting a little bit dicey when Adele, the girl who Yael is supposed to be, her brother enters the race as well as her former lover boyfriend type thing. It's one thing to fool the entire world who doesn't really know this girl that that's who she's supposed to be. It's a totally different thing to fool someone's twin brother and somebody they were a little bit intimate with. It's difficult, especially when you're going to be in close quarters with them and they start bringing up things from the past and you're like, yeah, I remember. I don't remember. It's rough, but she's got to do her best and she's got to stick it out. I have the sequel, Blood for Blood. I haven't read it yet, but I really enjoyed this. It's kind of terrifying reading it, thinking of a world like this where things didn't go the way they did. So those were some of my favorite retellings that aren't fairy tales. Fairy tales are often the subject of retellings, but not usually other things. But these were some of my favorites from the other things category. I think that's all I really had to say for today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below to stay updated with my current reads and how I'm feeling about them. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Goodreads, all at You're a Book Nerd Zoe, and I will leave all of those linked down below for you. I hope you all have a wonderful day and get at least a little bit of uninterrupted reading time. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!